Aloha kako everyone. Happy Memorial Day. I will be posing three questions based off of the two different readings that we had for today. Uh, First question I had kind of derives off of my post I did for our pedagogy section in our channel. So the question is, does remixing literature take away the value of the original work? If you noticed in my writing, I kind of said it did in a sense where, um, as the person that is remixing or recreating this particular literature, um, their sense of I is kind of different from the original person's perspective of it. For example, if you looked at the picture, I put the Romeo and Juliet movie with Leonardo DiCaprio as well as the original version recreated for Shakespeare. The premise of both movies are still the same. However, with the version with Leonardo DiCaprio in it, it is more modernized to fit to the audience that they are speaking out to. In this case, at this time, we instead of having sword fights, we have gun shootings or um, car chases instead of horse-drawn carriages or having to walk everywhere. So it kind of, depending on the person and the time that we are recreating this remix in, it makes sense to kind of change the literature of it. It doesn't take away as much, doesn't take away any value. It just modernizes it. Um, so the question again is, does remixing literature take away the value of the original work? The second question I got was also from the remixing article, and it has to do with video games. And in all honesty, because our kids are so exposed to video games and how technology is nowadays, these kids look to video games as a mean of relaxation or even a means of learning. And that posed my question of, should we change our mindset about video games and education, and how can playing video games positively impact our students? In a blog article on Thought Hub, they talk about gameplay, and gameplay is basically, in this picture, is a visible evidence of comprehension. It requires understanding skills and strategies to succeed. Game requires players to make predictions, logical inferences. Games figure out how to play the game by analyzing characters and plot. Gaming can create a bias for developing and using comprehension strategies. So because our whole technology nowadays in the 21st century is we're trying to create 21st century learners, video games do have an outlook of being having kids to become a critical thinker, make informative judgments, create problem solver, communicate and collaborate with others. So as teachers, I know we all have a certain premise of like how we see video games, and we see video games as a violent type of thing because there are some video games such as Fortnite where you are killing another character, but it, it's the premise of the game. It's teaching kind of like a survival of the fittest type of thing and a very violent aspect, but it also has kids having to identify who is the bad guy and who isn't the bad guy. You know, like should we kill and whatnot. In all honesty, video games should have a part in education. Not maybe not as a heavy aspect, but there are great benefits to video gaming. For example, a previous student of mine this year was accepted into commitment schools, and in his seventh grade class, um, they asked students to figure out a situation or problem that they see in their community. And my student in particular chose about drugs and homelessness, and they use Minecraft as a means of for them to basically build a structure of some sort. And he was able to actually build on Minecraft a home center for Native Hawaiians where they can go to um, for help or what some sort. So there are means and reasons for video games to play a good part in education. So as teachers, should we, or as educators in general, should we change our mindset from seeing video games as a negative thing to seeing it as a more positive thing, where students are being able to practice these 21st century skills that a lot of employers now require us to be. The last question I have is, as teachers, should we foster the need, or how do we foster the need to expose our students to multiliteracies if our resources are limited to what our principals will buy and what the students have at home? Now, as teachers of the coast area, especially, our students are very limited to what they have at home, and as well as what our principals will be willing to purchase. I know for me, my principal is very hesitant when it comes to trying out new things, and her favorite saving is always, what's the data behind it? And it's like, how can we provide you data of our own with our own children if you are not like really willing to try out this new thing, like with how, again, technology, Autobots, all those techie kind of things that we see nowadays with our kids. Like, how do we provide them with that type of like multiliteracy, like having to build something or create something, as well as, online sources. And with a lot of our families in the coast area, like there are students that are MBA students where they might not have a laptop at home, they might not have a computer, they might not have the sources that, what we use nowadays in school for them to be very successful in. It's just hard for them to be able to use those things at home if they don't have it. Like, yes, we have the public library and whatnot, but there's only so much that they can do there, and there's only so much time they can go. And it also kind of leads with parents nowadays, parents in general, like how much are they able to provide their child, and it goes on the whole social economic thing. And it's nothing to be ashamed about. It's just for those students, most importantly, like, if we want them to be exposed to these multiliteracies, like, shouldn't our schools be more willing to purchase certain things, such as, like, of course, we all have most of us are a one-to-one school, so our kids do have a laptop to use in our classrooms, or you might have to rent a computer card for your classroom. So it all depends on, like, how, as a teacher, are we willing to go to the different lengths to provide our students with these kind of opportunities. But that was my last question. So there's those three questions. I have also written the questions on here. If you care to reply back to this video with your different responses, that would be awesome. But other than that, I hope you guys have the great rest of your week. We are almost done with school, and I'll see you guys Thursday.